off. Americans return to space as Discovery clears the tower.
Welcome back to TTM Trades. This week we're going to be doing our weekly analysis where we're going to run our 4 scanners for our 4 setups. Everybody should know what they are. Strong uptrend, weak uptrend, strong downtrend with a weak downtrend. Now we know overall the S&P 500 is in a strong downtrend, and the majority of the stocks in the S&P 500 are in a strong downtrend and has followed that index. Now with that being said, when we ran our scanners last week prior to the market going down like this, we had about 600 stocks in a strong uptrend, maybe 200 stocks in a strong downtrend, and a weak uptrend, and a weak downtrend, so on and so forth. And we said last week, I said last week that those numbers were going to dramatically shift. So we'll run our scanners, look for our 4 setups, save them, and preserve the order on each one. So first one, excuse me. We'll scan for strong downtrend, and boy, as you can see, 999 stocks are in a strong downtrend. So you can see the entire market has shifted into a strong downtrend. That is crazy. So we'll go ahead and store those results. Strong downtrend setup. Next, we'll look for stocks that are in a weak downtrend. It's only 18 of those. Stocks that are in a strong uptrend. I remember we had a little over 600 last time. As you can see now, we only have 141 stocks that are in a strong uptrend. That goes to show you how much of the market has shifted into a strong downtrend. But for those 141 that are in a strong uptrend, those are the key ones that have been going against the grain, and you could tell have been holding up pretty well. And then we'll scan for stocks that are in a weak uptrend, which we have about 310 of them. All right, we'll preserve the order, and then let's go through and let's start taking a look at them. What we'll do is try to find 3 that's in a strong downtrend with the S&P 500. We'll go to each one. We'll find 2 in each one. 2 strong downtrend, weak downtrend, 2 strong uptrend, 2 weak uptrend, and then go from there. So first, we'll go ahead and go with the ones that are going against the grain and that are in a strong uptrend. And we'll do 10 per page, and we'll go through them and look at the setups and see which ones are good, because now the ones that are already in a strong uptrend, this is good because if the market does decide to consolidate this week with up and down movements or whatever, then more than likely these stocks that are already still in a strong uptrend setup will continue their uptrend. All right, they already hit key support levels and they're holding on. Now, what do I mean a stock that is in a strong uptrend? Okay, 1, it is above its 150 period SMA right here, as you can see here, the yellow line, and it's above its middle Bollinger Band. Okay, so 1, it's above the higher time frames middle Bollinger Band, which is the weekly right here. That's what the 150 SMA represents. And then it's above its own middle Bollinger Band, signaling that it's in an uptrend. All right, so not only is it intact on a day-to-day basis, but it is intact on a week-to-week basis, considering that stock a strong uptrend. All right, so as you see here, we have REGN pull back to 418 and it's holding. All right, let's keep looking. Netflix. I like Netflix setup. It's above its weekly middle Bollinger Band. It's hit its middle Bollinger Band, and it did get rejected by that top 1 standard deviation Bollinger Band, but as it pulled back, it held on its middle Bollinger Band. Now, Netflix has rallied every single time on its middle Bollinger Band, and I've missed this rally the past 3 times, okay? When it pulled back this first, we played it running up to here. It pulled back. We played that rally back up to here. And then it pulled back again to that middle Bollinger Band. And then this is when I stopped trading Netflix after December, because that's when Tesla and everything else started moving. But as you can see here, each time it hits that middle Bollinger Band, it rallies, creating the higher highs. Again, hit that middle Bollinger Band on the earnings report, immediate buying the next day, sending it straight back up. And then again, the rally, and now it's hitting that middle Bollinger Band and kind of consolidating on top of it. So we'll pull up Netflix on all the charts and see what type of setup we have going here on Netflix. We don't need to look at the monthly charts because we won't be holding anything for a month. So we're just pulling up on each time frame. That's the daily, weekly, daily, 2 hour, 30-minute, and the 5-minute chart. Okay, multiple time frame analysis is very important if you are a trader. You have to be able to identify different trends within each time frame. Remember, every smaller time frame adds into the higher time frame of the daily. Okay, so you want to be able to see what's going on intraday and how that's building up to go into the daily. All right, and then that way you can pinpoint your entries a lot better. All right, so looking at Netflix, we know as far as the weekly chart, it ran up to that 392 and now it's pulling back. All right, and you can see there's still room for it to drop down to 345, which is that top 1 standard deviation Bollinger Band on the weekly chart. All right, so going into the daily, looking at where 345 is at, 345 is down here by that bottom 1 standard deviation Bollinger Band. And as you can see here, Netflix has not pulled back to that bottom 1 standard deviation Bollinger Band, as you can see here, since October. And that was the last time it touched that area, and then now it's been continuing in a strong uptrend. Okay, so is there a possibility Netflix could pull back to that 345 area where the top 1 standard deviation Bollinger Band is at on the weekly, and the bottom 1 standard deviation Bollinger Band is at on the daily? Is very possible. All right, one way we can get a clue is if we zoom in intraday. All right, so going to the 2 hour chart, as you can see here, constantly rallying. Every time it pulled back to the daily's middle Bollinger Band, which is 150 SMA here, you can see it had that rally, as we was pointing out, pull back here, rally, and now it's pulling back and kind of consolidating on here. So in order for Netflix to rally back to the upside, well, one, it needs to hold that 357 area right here. If that 357 area gets violated, then we know we're going to probably pull back down to the downside and retest that. Well, not retest, but test that 345 area we're seeing on the daily right here, and on the weekly as far as the top 1 standard deviation Bollinger Band before the uptrend continues. Now zooming in, we're going to zoom into the 30 to see how the 30 is supporting it. If the 30 is beginning to uptrend, then it will support the 2 hour chart, possibly bouncing off of that 357 where the daily's middle Bollinger Band is sitting at. So zooming into the 30-minute chart, you can see here finally fell below the 2 hour chart middle Bollinger Band, rallied, could not hold above that middle Bollinger Band, and then immediately pulled back, finding support right in that 357 area again. Okay, so what we need to see again for Netflix is it needs to hold above that 364 and stay within this 1 standard deviation Bollinger Band and consolidate above it. Because again, if the price action consolidates below the bottom 2 Bollinger Bands, then it's starting to head down into a downtrend. All right, so we need to see it hold above that 364 area and do some consolidation and kind of break out of this downtrend where it's trying to hold that 357 area. We zoom into the 5-minute chart. As you can see here, the price action was trending up per the PMO, holding above its averages, and then it broke below that 150 SMA. All right, so very important key areas that Netflix needs to get back above. One, the 5-minute chart needs to break out as it's doing right now, and it needs to get it back above its 150 SMA. All right, that 373, which will correlate to the 30 minutes chart middle Bollinger Band. Okay, and that 373, 374 correlate to the 2 hour chart middle Bollinger Band. So that's a key area of resistance, as you can see intraday time frames moving up into the daily. So right now we're looking at 374 to 373 resistance, 357 as support. I would keep an eye on Netflix. As you can see, it's currently consolidating. Again, had that low volatility period right here on the Bollinger Band width. Broke out with high volatility, and now it's beginning to consolidate. As you can see, the Bollinger Band width is pulling back below its averages, which means the bands are beginning to conform around the price action and tighten in this area. So you can see some consolidation over the next 2 days. Okay, so again, that 374 intraday, the price action needs to get above it and hold. And then again, if that 357 area fails intraday, then we're looking at possibly pulling back here to 345. So we'll keep an eye on Netflix. Might be a good possible play to continue riding to the upside if the coronavirus news doesn't affect it too much. So we'll add Netflix. All right, continuing on stocks that are in a strong uptrend. Domino's Pizza's earning report came out. Had a very strong bull run to the upside, and as you can see, began pulling back. So we'll leave that one alone. NVIDIA, I really like what NVIDIA did. Okay, this was on our plays for the week last week as far as going into a downtrend, but as you can see here, as NVIDIA went on that downtrend last week, as soon as it hit that 241 bottom one standard deviation Bollinger Band, it immediately rallied and broke back to the upside above its middle Bollinger Band, okay, on strong volume. So just looking at NVIDIA, could it continue to the upside, because now it has some key resistance areas it has to break above, as far as 282 and 302 on the daily chart. So we'll pull up NVIDIA. All right, so looking at ticker NVDA on a weekly chart, it's on a strong uptrend, as you can see here, holding above its top two Bollinger Band, the one standard and the two standard deviation Bollinger Band. PMO, the trend strength, this is what this shows me, is in pretty good shape. As it's showing that the trend is holding steady. And then looking at on the daily, again, we talked about it hitting that one standard deviation Bollinger Band at the bottom and then immediately breaking back above its middle BB at 261. All right, so again, the PMO is in positive territory and it's starting to curl back up to the upside. And then as NVIDIA was going into that downtrend, unable to break above its one standard deviation Bollinger Band, as you can see here, fell below, rejected, and then it finally broke back out to break above it. And then as it looked like it was going to fail, some immediate buying, it came back to come and hold that 150 SMA in that bottom one standard deviation Bollinger Band, sitting at 258. All right, so how can we get a precursor to what the 2-hour chart is possibly going to do? If we zoom into the 30-minute chart, then you can see that the price action is already consolidating in that price range for NVIDIA, sitting at 258. All right, looking at the 30-minute chart, you can see it had that strong uptrend, PMO above its averages, reflecting that the trend strength is strong. Immediately as the PMO began crossing over and going flat along with the RSI, we went into that strong downtrend on the 30-minute chart, unable to break above the bottom two, one and two standard deviation Bollinger Band, and then it's struggling with that middle Bollinger Band as it attempted to push up, constantly pushing up and then fell in, pushed up again, rejected, and then pushed up, and as it pulled back, it stayed within the bands to show that the downward momentum was coming to a standstill. So NVIDIA definitely looks like a good play to play calls on. The PMO, which reflected that downtrend, is now beginning to flatten out and move sideways as the averages are converging on it. The volatility is very low as the Bollinger Bandwidth is below its average. So again, volatility is cyclical. Where there's low volatility, high volatility will follow. So there's a breakout to happen here soon. And you can see the RSI is trending above its averages, and the Shande trend meter is getting back above its averages. So the overall momentum on NVIDIA on a 30-minute time frame, feeding over into the 2-hour chart, looks pretty good. All right, now the only thing NVIDIA needs to do to make this convincing for me is it needs to get back above its 150 SMA, currently sitting at 281. Okay, if it gets back above that 281 SMA, then that would work with the 2-hour chart middle Bollinger Band. Then if it consolidates above that, then that would confirm that the PMO, which is beginning to curl up above the zero line, is showing that the momentum is beginning to shift back to the upside and in the bull's favor on NVIDIA. So we'll keep an eye on this one. Definitely looks like a good play to play calls on, but again, the PMO still needs to get above its average at 75 and break out into that bull territory above the zero line, and it needs to get above its 150 SMA, sitting at 281 currently. But NVIDIA does look good with 255 as support, and then that 270 to 275 region as resistance. So look at calls on NVIDIA down in that lower 260 to mid 255 range. That way you get your premiums a little cheaper and then try to ride it back up to the upside. So we'll add this one to the daily for plays of the week. And now we got two plays for a strong uptrend. All right. Now moving forward, let's look at ones that are in a weak uptrend. Now, what is a weak uptrend? Okay, now a weak uptrend means that, again, the stock is above its 150 SMA, as you can see here, that yellow line. Okay, and again, that 150 SMA represents what? It represents the higher time frames middle Bollinger Band. Why is the middle Bollinger Band so important? Anytime a stock is trending and it stays above its middle Bollinger Band, then the stock uptrend is still intact. Okay, so if we're above the weekly's middle Bollinger Band, then on a week-to-week basis, we are still in the uptrend when it comes to this stock. Okay, now what turns that from a strong uptrend to a weak uptrend? It's the simple fact that the price action is above its 150 SMA, but it has now fallen below its middle Bollinger Band, which means one of two things, okay? That means either the price action is going to consolidate in this range right here and then break back out to the upside to start another uptrend, and or it's going to consolidate below its middle Bollinger Band and then get rejected by its two averages on a daily, which is 714 and 839 for Tesla, and then it begin falling back to the downside, and then it's going to test its weekly middle Bollinger Band, which is 150 SMA sitting way down here. Okay, so that's what makes it a weak uptrend. Okay, it is no longer above its middle Bollinger Band. So if we look at Tesla, Tesla broke out right here above its 150 SMA, the weekly middle Bollinger Band, and it stayed above its middle Bollinger Band ever since mid-October, as you can see here, trending up, consolidated on the middle Bollinger Band, trended up, pulled back, and it held above its top two 1 and 2 standard deviation Bollinger Band, showing that it was in a very, very strong uptrend, and it never pulled back to the middle Bollinger Band to try to consolidate. So what you have here is with the COVID-19 news, Tesla is pulling back below its middle Bollinger Band, and it's going to do one of two things. It's going to consolidate in this area and break out or break down. So this is why we classify this as a weak uptrend, okay? Because the uptrend, the strong uptrend, is no longer intact, okay? So let's look at Tesla. I like Tesla. A lot of people miss those initial waves on Tesla. So with Tesla pulling back to the low 600s, this is a good opportunity for traders who missed those opportunities to get into Tesla and try to play this. So we'll pull up Tesla on our charts. All right, so again, looking at Tesla on the weekly, it's above its middle Bollinger Band, and it had this crazy strong uptrend before topping out at 969 and then now pulling back, okay? So on a weekly, all right, you can see some buying came into play, but there's still room for Tesla to pull back to 582. As you can see here, that's right where the top 1 standard deviation Bollinger Band is at on the weekly chart at 582. So we want to keep that in mind, okay? Now, what is that 582 area roundabout covers on the day-to-day chart? That covers right here on that bottom 1 standard deviation Bollinger Band, which is sitting right at 589. So about a $7 difference. So we need to be careful of Tesla continuing this downtrend on Monday and pulling back to that 582 to 589 area before possibly consolidating and then trying to run back to the upside. So looking on a day-to-day basis, we zoom into the 2-hour chart to kind of get a feel of where Tesla's going intraday. So we look intraday. You can see here Tesla was in a very strong uptrend, broke above its averages on the PMO, finally broke above the daily's middle Bollinger Band back in late October. Well, back in October, it pulled back here. So looking in December, and as it continued to rally, it stayed in that strong uptrend on the 2-hour chart, holding above its middle Bollinger Band and staying above the daily's middle Bollinger Band. Okay, so now Tesla has pulled back and now it's consolidating right below its 150 SMA. Okay, now with that being said, Tesla is below the 150 SMA, and now that 150 SMA is acting as a resistance. Okay, so two things need to happen for Tesla to be believable to continue to uptrend. Tesla, one, has to break back above that 150 SMA sitting at 670, and it has to get back above 716, this bottom 1 standard deviation Bollinger Band, and consolidate on that 1 standard deviation Bollinger Band to do some base building before it tries to break out and go back to the upside. Because again, anytime a stock is in a strong uptrend, what holds true for an uptrend holds true for a downtrend. Strong uptrend above the middle Bollinger Band, holding above the 150 SMA. Strong downtrend, stay below the bottom 2 Bollinger Bands, and then constantly get rejected by its middle Bollinger Band as it continues to make lower lows. Okay, now Tesla is showing oversold on the 2-hour chart, and it looks like it could be some consolidation right here, but again, it needs to break above that key area of 670 and 716. So as we can see here, PMO is still in bullish territory. It can always flatten out right here at the 0 line to show that consolidation, and Tesla may take a couple of days to consolidate before trying to break back out to the upside. So to get a feel for the 2-hour chart, we need to go intraday a little bit further to the 30-minute chart and see if the 30-minute chart is beginning to trend up. Okay, if the 30-minute chart is showing strength, then that strength will soon bleed over into the 2-hour chart, which will help the 2-hour chart get above those averages it needs to get above. And once the 2-hour chart is showing strong strength and is getting above its averages, then that bleeds over into the daily, and now we know how to play Tesla on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so looking at the 30-minute chart, as you can see here, PMO above its 0 line the entire time, finally broke down with the price action. Again, a strong downtrend will holds true for uptrend, holds true for a downtrend. constantly unable to break above the middle Bollinger Band, as you can see here, staying below his lower 2 BBs, and then finally getting above the 1 standard deviation Bollinger Band. And now you can look and see that the price action is trying to consolidate on the 30-minute chart, because you can see here Bollinger Band with the starting to turn back to the downside to show low volatility. Anytime there's low volatility showing up, then that means that the price action is trying to consolidate in this area. So we get that fair early warning here with the price action, with the Bollinger Band width going below its averages. The PMO is trying to flatten out, but you have to be careful with this because one, it's in bear territory because it's below the zero line, and two, it hasn't even broken above its averages. All right, so just looking at Tesla needs, it looks like 2 to 3 days to consolidate in this area and do some base building and some soul searching before it can start trending back to the upside. Now, what I would watch on Tesla, again, looking at the 2-hour chart, if it doesn't get back above this 716 area, I would watch for Tesla to push up to the 716 area, maybe mid 750s. And if Tesla fails and you start to see the 30-minute chart turn back to the downside, then that lets you know that this downtrend is going to continue on the 2-hour chart and is going to push down to that, what did we say earlier, that 582 to 589 area, right? So keep Tesla in mind. That's the thing about weak uptrends and weak downtrends. That means the price action has broken down from the original trend it was in, and now it's consolidating, and we're trying to figure out which direction it's going to go. Okay, weak downtrend and weak uptrend setups are good for breakout plays, whereas strong uptrends and strong downtrends are good for catching trends that are already in motion. Okay, so Tesla is a iffy. We'll keep that one in mind though, going into next week. And the reason I say that, you know, these big high name stocks, because these are stocks you want to build your portfolio into, right? So if we can make a lot of money on it and then take that money and buy shares of the company at a lower price, you know, that's a great deal. So we'll put Tesla on the watch list and watch for those key areas when it comes to Tesla. All right, moving on, we got to find one more chart that has a weak uptrend setup. See, a lot of these charts is breaking down. Charter look like it's about to break down. Trend but now is falling below its middle BB, showing the price action is consolidating. It's already falling below its lower 2 Bollinger Bands, and it look like it's going to go into this downtrend and test 457. We might come back to Charter. Shop. Now, I really like the way Shop is set up. Okay, I came across this one reading on some other blogs. I'm going to show you Shop because I think Shop would be a good play for calls. So looking at Shop weekly chart, you can see it topped out at 593. It pulled back soon to hit that bottom one standard with the top 1 standard deviation Bollinger Band on the weekly chart. You can see that there was some immediate buying to close it right above that bottom, that top 1 standard deviation Bollinger Band at 448. So we zoom in at the daily. You can see here it had that sell-off and then immediate last-minute rally. The PMO is still in positive territory with the Bollinger Band with pretty low consolidating, pretty low, showing that the price action is consolidating within these range of the Bollinger Bands. Okay, now it is in a strong down, well, it is in a downtrend consolidation play here, but on a Friday I had a strong rally. So we zoom into the 2-hour chart, same setup that we just saw on Tesla. Downtrend, broke below the 150 SMA, and now it's trying to break back above that bottom 1 standard deviation Bollinger Band at 464 on the 2-hour chart, and hold, well, 454, excuse me, 454, and hold above it as it currently closed at 463. All right, so what we want to watch with Shop is that it holds above that 454 and it consolidates above it for about a day or two. If it does that, then that sets up the 2-hour chart to hold that area and then possibly break back out to the upside. Okay, but it needs to consolidate, which means that the Bollinger Band width needs to trickle back down below its average to show the bands are constricting within a certain price range. So zoom into the 30-minute chart. What kind of setup do we got? Same as Tesla on the 30-minute chart. You can see the 30-minute PMO trending down. Price action was in a strong downtrend, unable to break above its middle BB. Kept creating lower lows, and then finally when it broke back up to attempt that middle BB, as it pulled back, it stayed within the bands to show that the price action is now consolidating and that downtrend is possibly stopped. Okay, so we want to see again the price action hold within the bands on the 30-minute chart. PMO still needs a lot of work to do. As you can see here, it needs to get back above its 75 average and get back into bull territory above zero. but we are above the middle Bollinger Band, which is a good sign, and we need to get back above 506. All right, RSI is already trending and holding above its averages with the Shonday trend meter, which was below its averages the entire downtrend, starting to break back above its averages. So SHOP looks like a great play going into next week, and this could be a possible bottom pick play right here, where we can try to get some puts, not puts, definite calls right down into that 440 range to get some lower premiums and then ride this one back up to the upside. But SHOP definitely look like it's holding strong, and even here on the 5-minute chart, looking at SHOP, it's been getting rejected by that 150 SMA, but it's already doing the work. It broke above 150 SMA, which now puts SHOP in a strong uptrend on the 5-minute chart. So we need to see that strength into the 5-minute chart start to pour over into the 30-minute chart, and then the price action break out to the upside to test that 506 and then break above its 150 SMA. But this looks like a good bottom pick and play with 440 calls anywhere in this range, 440 to 463 calls, and then ride that back up all the way back to its prior highs on the daily to attempt these resistance areas at 44, 513, and 543. So we definitely gonna add SHOP to the list, and we'll play calls on SHOP, as that definitely looks like it has a great setup. So we'll go ahead and go to a strong downtrend, which is what the market is in altogether. As you can see, we have 50 pages of stocks that's in a strong downtrend. The S&P 500, the NASDAQ, the Dow, they're all in strong downtrend. So they're all in the same setup. That's why a majority of the stocks, over 1,000 of them, are in this same setup, because that's what the overall market is doing. So again, strong downtrend is below its middle Bollinger Band on the daily, as you can see here, and it's below the weekly's middle Bollinger Band. So not only has the daily chart been violated, the weekly chart has been violated, because now it's below the weekly's middle Bollinger Band. And again, any stock that's below is middle Bollinger Band means it's no longer in a strong uptrend. Okay, so Dollar General. So this one hasn't quite broken down, but it is at a key area of support, right? So looking at Dollar General, it has a strong downtrend set up, as it broke below the daily middle Bollinger Band, and it broke below the weekly middle Bollinger Band. But it's sitting at that key level of support right in that lower 150 area. Now, if we go into this week and that 150 area breaks, then McDonald goes into a free fall, filling that gap right there down to 140, all the way down to 130 to 132, right where this last area consolidation is at. So Dollar General might be a good setup for if the market turns south. Then Dollar General has a lot of room to go with it. A lot of those stocks we just passed already dropped a large percentage, and trying to play a strong downtrend on those is like stocks that are already at the bottom, so they could possibly rebound on you. So Dollar General still has a lot of room to fall. So we'll pull up DG on our charts. All right, so anytime price action is breaking outside its Bollinger Bands, and you always want to look at the higher time frame. So going to the weekly, as you can see here, McDonald's is on that nice strong uptrend, holding above the middle BB. As you can see here, as it pulled back and consolidated on that middle Bollinger Band, and then it tried to rally for another breakout, but then immediately fell, pulling down to its bottom 1 standard deviation Bollinger Band. Currently sitting at 148. Okay, so this is the key level we want to watch going into next week. All right, PMO is trending down, although it is above its averages and way above the zero line, which means that on a week-to-week basis, it's still in bull territory. Okay, so we want to watch McDonald's. Very low volatility. As you can see, the Bollinger Band width is way below its averages, which is reflecting the Bollinger Bands beginning to tighten. So that's a big deal on the weekly chart, because it means it's about to make a big move on a week-to-week basis. Okay, now if I had to say which direction that move is going to be, I'm going to go with possibly to the downside. But again, remember that 148 is a key area of support. That 148 to 150 is a key area of support we want to watch. Okay, and the reason I say that is because it continued making higher highs on each push, as you can see here. Hold on, gotta wait on Alexa. All right, so as you can see here, it continued making higher highs.
Alexa, stop.
So as you can see here, it continued making higher highs, and then when it pulled back on the middle Bollinger Band, instead of breaking out back above that top 1 standard deviation Bollinger Band and holding to create another higher high and continue trending up, it immediately failed and pulled back. Okay, so normally that's a sign of the price action getting rejected and starting to sell off. So McDonald's could, not McDonald's, excuse me, I got McDonald's on the mind. A Dollar General could possibly start a strong downtrend here soon. So we'll lock this one in. Let's zoom in on the daily. We looked at the daily. Let's look at the 2 hour and see what type of setup we're getting here on the 2 hour. So on the 2 hour, I already had that strong drop from 167 down to 148, as we can see here. 2 hours still in a very strong downtrend. You can see down in that 150 area, there was some buying coming into play as you get the long wicks at the bottom. The PMO is turned down, but above its zero line. Okay, so going to the 30-minute chart, let's see what the trend is doing. PMO way below its averages, and you can see it looked like it's trying to base out here right around 148. And then looking here on the 2 hour chart, PMO way below its averages. So what I can see happening is Dollar General basing out here and trying to rally back up to that 152 to 155 area, which correlates to the middle Bollinger Band right here on the 30-minute chart. Once it rallies into that area, I think the trend is going to pull back and begin felling and continuing that downtrend. So I'm going to put DG on the watch list for puts, but I would watch for a Monday, Tuesday rally back up to 152 to 155. When you get that rally, that'll probably be a good time to snipe and to take 155 puts a lot cheaper, and then ride Dollar General back down to the downside, possibly breaking out of this lower 2 standard deviation Bollinger Band sitting at 150, which is trying to hold it up, and then start to drop, 1 filling that gap, and 2 hitting back down to that 140 to 132 area where this last price action consolidation happened. So DG is on the watch list for puts. We'll add that on there. And let's find one more stock that's in a strong downtrend but hasn't quite broken down yet like the rest of the market. $3M look like it's trying to base out right here at 145, but it look like it's gonna fail. Let me pull up $3M on a weekly chart. Let's see what's going on with it. I was trying to hold that key area back in this range right here, and it don't look like it's gonna make it. All right, let's pull up 3M because this one look like it's about to break down for real. Yeah, let's pull this one up. So we see on the weekly, 3M hit a key level of support on a week-to-week basis on the weekly chart. And even on the weekly chart, it's very bearish because it's below its 150 SMA, which is the monthly middle Bollinger Band. And now it's below its weekly middle Bollinger Band, along with the daily below its middle Bollinger Band. So 3M look like it's about to have a major breakdown. And if it breaks this 147 to 150 area where it's ranging at, if it breaks through that, then here, let's see if we can pull up a monthly chart because it's already felling on a week-to-week basis pretty bad. So we need to go further out to see where this is going to drop down to, because this 147 to 150 area is about to fail because you get this large volume spike on the weekly, but that large volume spike, even though it's a large volume spike, it didn't close in the green or at the top of the candle, still closed at the bottom, which means the selling outweighed the buying. All right, so it looks like a lot of shorts piled into this last week. Everyone who wanted to exit sold their shares and got out. So now this looks like it's primed to just fall. So we go out to the monthly. Again, on the monthly is below its, on a month-to-month basis, is below its bottom Bollinger Bands, the 1 standard and the 2 standard, which means it's starting to go into a downtrend. As you can see, the PMO is already falling. So looking at this on a month-to-month basis, if 3M starts to go on a strong downtrend, there's nothing to catch this as a line of support. So it's going to fall down. I mean, you got 120 right here, but if that 120 fails, then it's looking at that 114 area on a month-to-month basis. So let's look at 3M on the daily. Again, we can see it basing out right here in this area, trying to hold. If we zoom in on the 2 hour chart, as you can see here, had that drop from 178 to 154. Tried to base out here and hold. PMO still way below zero, which means the trend strength isn't even up to get it there. And then it fell again, and now it's trying to base out here again. So we need to see if this base is going to hold in this area, and then the PMO is going to start trending back up and breaking above its averages. But again, it's still below its bottom 2 standards deviation Bollinger Band. So we go to the 30-minute chart and zoom in. Same thing. Wild price action is trying to hold this area. So we zoom into the 5. hit that 145 area, basing out right here. So what I would watch with 3M, it looks like it wants to have a short-term rally. It's still very bearish. On the 5-minute chart below is 150, 30-minute chart below is 150, 2-hour below, daily below. So this is about to go into a strong downtrend. What I would watch for 3M, because it looks like it wants to rally back up to that 155 area, I will watch 3M to possibly rally to 153. If the rally is strong enough to rally to 157 and then start getting rejected, and once it starts getting rejected in one of these two areas, 153 to 157, then that'll be a good time to snipe your entry for puts and then take 3M all the way down, because it's trying to base out here on the daily, but there's so much selling that it looks like it's just going to continue its downward momentum, and this range that it's been trying to hold is finally about to fail. The way you snipe that entry is you go to the 5-minute chart and you watch the price swing. As you can see here, it's creating lower highs, 150, 149, 148. Finally created a higher high, so it's probably going to pull back here, and then it's going to run up to that 150 range to 155. Now what I look for is when it gets up into that range, I start watching for the the price action to fall back within the bands to show that the trend is over. And 2, I start watching for the PMO to fade out. And once the PMO starts to fade out, then I know that little run and head up to the upside is finally being rejected and is about to move back to the downside. So we'll definitely put 3M on watch for puts. I would let it have its small rally here on Monday or Tuesday and then snipe it for puts. All right, that's it, man. TTM trades. Those are our plays of the week. We'll go ahead and pull it up right here. Do a quick rundown for our plays of the week. So what we're looking at is we're looking at, I need to delete our old ones that we got on here. Take off Roku. We'll still keep Roku on watch, man. Everybody in the Discord know we got Roku on watch, so we'll keep that on watch. I don't have to put that on here. We'll take Beyond off. Beyond might continue into that strong downtrend, so we'll keep that on watch too. But ticker NVDA, we're looking at that one for some calls. Shop, we're looking at that one for calls. And notice these two are still in a, I think that we're in a weak uptrend, possibly breaking back out to the upside. Of course, the S&P 500, we'll keep an eye on that with the COVID-19 news. 3M is trying to base out. It looks like that base is about to fail. Netflix has to hold its middle Bollinger Band, which is what we were looking at. Tesla has to hold its middle Bollinger Band and rally back above it. And then DG, we're looking at puts. Okay, so DG puts, Tesla, Netflix, depending on how that weak uptrend holds, we're looking at calls or puts. We got to watch key areas. 3M, we're looking at puts. And then Shop and NVDA, we're still in strong uptrends, as you can see here. And we're looking at calls on those once those begin to rally. All right, so keep those in mind. That's our watch list for the week. You want to see our entries and our exits throughout the week, join the Discord. The link is down below. As everyone in the community, in the Discord community, we play these plays together and we snipe our entries and everything together. So again, TTM Trades, you got any questions, hit me up in the Discord. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.
Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.